For 4,000 years, the Dragon Throne of China was a seat of power exclusively for men. Dynasties rose and fell, emperors came and went, but one rule remained absolute, until one woman shattered it completely. Her name was Zetian, and this is the true story of how she rose from a humble concubine to become the most powerful person in the empire, ruling as its one and only female emperor. Her journey began in the opulent but treacherous world of the Forbidden Palace. At just 14, Zetian entered the court of Emperor Taizong as a low-ranking concubine. While many would have been lost in the sea of beautiful women vying for imperial favor, she was different. She was intelligent, observant, and possessed an unyielding ambition. She spent these early years not just serving, but learning. She studied history, politics, and literature, and most importantly, she learned the intricate art of court politics, deadly game of alliances, rivalries, and whispers in the dark. After Emperor Taizong's death, tradition dictated that his childless concubines be sent to a Buddhist monastery. For most, this was the end of their story. But for Zetian, it was merely an intermission. During her time at court, she had formed a forbidden connection with the crown prince, Li Zhao. When he ascended the throne as Emperor Gaozong, he couldn't forget her. Defying all convention, he brought her back to the palace. This was her second chance, and she would not waste it. Back in the palace, Zetian's political genius truly began to shine. She wasn't just beautiful. She was a master strategist. She skillfully navigated the treacherous currents of the court, outmaneuvering powerful rivals like Empress Wang and the favored consort Xiao. Using a combination of charm, intelligence, and ruthless calculation, she won the emperor's complete trust and affection. In a dramatic and controversial turn of events, she managed to have both the empress and the consort deposed, clearing her own path to the top. In the year 655, Zetian was named Empress Consort. She had reached the pinnacle for a woman in Imperial China, but for her, it was only the beginning. As Empress Wu's influence grew exponentially, Emperor Gaozong suffered from poor health, often leaving the day-to-day affairs of the empire in her capable hands. She sat behind a screen during court audiences, advising him on every major decision. They became known as the two sages, ruling side by side. This was an unprecedented level of power for an empress, and it allowed her to build her own political network, placing loyal officials in key positions and removing those who stood in her way. She was no longer just the emperor's wife. She was his partner in power, and in many ways, the true force behind the throne. When Emperor Gaozong died, Zetian's sons inherited the throne, but they ruled in name only. She held the real power as Empress Dowager and Regent. Her first son, Li Xian, proved too independent and was quickly deposed and exiled. Her second son, Li Dan, was made a puppet emperor, too fearful to challenge his mother's authority. For years, she ruled through him, consolidating her power, eliminating political enemies, and preparing the ground for her most audacious move yet. The whispers against her grew louder, accusing her of cruelty and tyranny. But she was undeterred, driven by a vision of power that no woman had ever dared to dream of. Finally, in the year 690, Zetian cast aside all pretense. She forced her son to abdicate, took the throne for herself, and declared the beginning of a new dynasty, the Zhou. She was no longer an empress consort or a regent. She was Emperor Shenshan, the son of heaven, or, in her case, the daughter of heaven. At 67 years old, she had achieved the impossible, becoming the first and only woman to ever rule China in her own right. Her coronation sent shockwaves through the empire and has echoed through history ever since. So, what kind of ruler was she? While her rise to power was stained by intrigue and, according to her enemies, bloodshed, her reign was surprisingly effective. Zetian was a political revolutionary who understood the importance of stability and merit. She reformed and greatly expanded the imperial examination system, shifting the basis of promotion from aristocratic birth to actual talent. This opened up the government to a wider pool of skilled administrators, strengthening her bureaucracy and weakening the old, entrenched noble families who had been her greatest opponents. In terms of governance, she focused on the well-being of her people. She implemented policies to lower taxes and improve agricultural production, bringing prosperity to the common folk. She also proved to be a formidable military leader. Under her rule, the empire's borders were secured and even expanded. She oversaw successful campaigns against the Eastern Turks and the Tibetan Empire, solidifying the Tang Dynasty's and, later her Zhou Dynasty's dominance in the region. She was a shrewd diplomat and a brilliant military strategist, commanding the respect and fear of China's powerful neighbors. Despite her accomplishments, history has often painted Wu Zetian as a ruthless tyrant, a demon who usurped the throne through murder and manipulation. Later Confucian historians, scandalized by a woman daring to take the ultimate male role, went to great lengths to vilify her. They accused her of unspeakable acts, including the murder of her own children, to blacken her name for eternity. Separating fact from propaganda is one of the greatest challenges when studying her life. But when we look at the records of her reign, the political stability, the economic prosperity, the military success, a different picture emerges. A picture of a complex, brilliant, and undeniably effective ruler who governed a golden age. After 15 years on the dragon throne, an elderly and ailing Wu Zetian was forced to abdicate in a palace coup, and the Tang Dynasty was restored. She died later that year, but her legacy is undeniable. She defied a system that was built to keep her powerless and proved that a woman could rule one of the world's greatest empires as effectively as any man. Wu Zetian's story is a gripping saga of ambition, power, and the complex nature of historical truth. She remains one of the most fascinating and controversial figures in all of history. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the life of Wu Zetian. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to Historical Figures and Moments for more stories like this. And Dan T. Forget to click the share button to introduce your friends to this incredible female ruler. See you in the next video.